Hello Year 9, welcome back. Now, we've done a lot of learning in the booklets, and I'd really like to see how you're getting on with these. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is a series of questions, and I'd prefer, where possible, that you try and answer as many of them as you can without looking up answers. If you do need to look up any of the answers, if you could just put looked up next to the answer, just so I can see how much is going in your mind, how much is staying, how much you're getting confused on or not quite remembering. This is more so I can see what areas you've got and your understanding than it is anything else. So what we've got is we're going to have a series of questions on some of the more recent learning. There's a few of them, but you've got over the week for doing them in. You've got over the next 2 weeks. So this is to do up until we reach the end of the summer, end of this term. Okay, so it's a test about life in Nazi Germany. Try your best. The more detailed answers, the better, because it will show me how much more knowledge you've got in your minds. Okay, so we're going to think about life for women. What were the Nazis' views of women? How did they see them? Were they inferior or were they different but equal? Hitler wanted to build a 1,000-year Reich. What on earth does that mean? What did Hitler do to encourage women to have more children? Try and give 3 ways if you can. Why was it important for women to have more children for Germany? Why did he want to encourage women to have children? What were those 3 Ks that they had to follow? Can you remember the English? Can you remember the German? Be very impressed with people that can. How did Hitler try to prevent a weakening of the master race? We won't even go there onto my views of that phrase, but how did he try and prevent what he feared was a weakening of that race? Can you explain how it would help it? What was the honour cross system when it came to women? What were the marriage loans about? How did they work? And what happened to women's employment during Hitler's rule? And finally, can you give 2 ways that women would go against Hitler's views about how they should act? Can you think of any ways that women might rebel in some way, might not follow what Hitler wants? Now might be a good time to pause to answer that series of questions before we move on to another area. Next, we're going to think about some questions for the youths. What were the 2 main groups of Hitler Youth? There was a name for a group for the main boys group, and there was the name for the main girls group. Can you remember what those names were? How many Hitler Youth members were there? Here's a rough guesstimate. Okay, I'm not expecting you to tell me down to the last single member, but roughly how many do you think there were? And how did the Hitler Youth prepare people for war? How did they indoctrinate children? How did they prepare women for motherhood? Can you explain each of those areas, how the Hitler Youth did that? Why might it be exciting for children to be part of the Hitler Youth? Can you give an example of 3 subjects children were taught at school to explain how they were taught? And finally, on this section, how did the Nazis control the teachers? Can you give some specific ways that teachers were forced to teach Nazi ideology? How might they have been controlled? They probably would have been brainwashed, but some of them would have been forced to do this, even against their better judgment. Now might be a good time to pause so that you can answer those questions. My third section is life for workers. The Nazis reduced unemployment, which is great. It went from about 6 million in 1932 down to what? Again, not wanting a specific number, I was generalised with the 6 million. What did it drop down to in terms of millions? How did he get that unemployment figure down? Can you give a way or 2 ways that he did that? How maybe they worked? Give 3 ways that he hid the unemployment figures. How did he reclassify people so that they were no longer unemployed? They were something else. Can you give 2 ways that people were better off under the Nazis? 2 things that made life better for the majority of people, not for everyone, but for the majority. Can you give 2 ways that they were not better off? And again, we're talking generalizations, we're talking about the majority of people here. What was the Strength Through Joy program? Can you say anything good or bad about it? What was the Beauty of Labour program? And what was the DAF, the DAF, the Deutsches Arbeiterfront? Lastly, what were Hitler's views on minority groups? Should you have any problems, please feel free to email either myself or Mr. Carvalho. We are running a drop-in session again for you guys. That is going to be on Thursday. No, sorry, I apologise, on Wednesday at 9:30 till 10:15. If you've got any questions, if you've got any problems, I'm going to run through these questions and we're going to talk about some of the answers to them. So if you want help with that, please drop in and we can work through it together. If you've got any issues, any problems, please let us know. Please talk to us. The easiest way we can help you is if we know you need help. We won't get angry with you if you need help or if you're struggling in any way, but the only way we will know is if you tell us. Now, as I say, this isn't a test. It's not designed in that sense. It's more of a quiz to see what can you remember, how well do you know it. If you want to look up some of the answers, that's fine. Just give us a little note by the side of it to tell us, just so we can see how much of the learning is sticking in your heads. I've never taught in this type of manner before, so I don't really know. So the more you can tell me to help me out so I can see what's going on in your homes, in your learning worlds, the better. Otherwise, I won't know. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully see you guys soon. Bye.